a community. I understand that you belong to a Marian group, a Marian community. So let me reflect with you on this beautiful occasion of yours. Forbes magazine annually gives a special report about world's richest people. And here in the Philippines, a recent report has it that the C's, the owners of SM Schumart, the C siblings of the Philippines, top the Philippines richest at 13.9 billion US dollars. Jeff Bezos of the United States is on the top of the world's billionaires, setting a record of 175 billion US dollars. I'm saying this because one of the questions we ask as human beings as we advance in age is, what have I achieved in life? Or have I been fruitful in life? Does my life have a sense of purpose? We want our life to be meaningful and to have purpose. We also desire to have some impact for good on others and on our world. In other words, my dear brothers and sisters, we want our life to be fruitful. Now, my dear friends, fruitful, however, is understood very differently by various people. Some see a life of prayer as a fruitful life. Others see a life given to advocacies, social activism, and caring for the poor as a fruitful life. Some see it in terms of healing. Others see it in terms of building structures. Some see it in terms of virtue. Others in terms of productivity. And in the case of the billionaires I just mentioned, it means net worth. Clearly, we measure fruitfulness differently depending on the values we hold. However, beyond the question of differences in our understanding of what it means to be fruitful is another question. What constitutes the fruitful life? And this is the very core of our reflections for today. Our readings would present to us the generosity of God. There is a correlation between our fruitfulness and God's generosity. And we shall reflect on that. And let me share with you at least 3 aspects of the fruitful life. Namely, gratitude, vulnerability, and care. Now let me expound on each particular subject. First, on generosity. You may not even have a tiny fraction of Jeff Bezos' net worth, but that doesn't mean you are not fruitful. You see, fruitfulness is not at all the things we have built, earned, or accumulated. Fruitfulness is all about the things we have given and shared. So sharing is never possible without the recognition that we have been given first. We give because we have received. When we recognize that we indeed are loved, we love in return. The richest people are those who are able to give and share. You see, we can find a correlation, with with gratitude that can be correlated with our first reading. In the first reading, there is a picture of a generous God. God who is generous in mercy. Remember, we would recall the instance when the woman of ill repute was forgiven by Jesus. And Jesus said, she who has been loved would love in return. She who has been forgiven would love in return. That woman of ill repute was so generous after having been forgiven. That is, I think, one of the foundations of generosity and fruitfulness. When you have been loved, you would give love in return. So my dear friends, fruitfulness is enhanced when our life is characterized by appreciation and gratitude. Our sense of gratitude should allow us to appropriate the good, the blessings that comes our way. That's why, my dear friends, count your blessings. Count your blessings. When you are able to identify your blessings, you would be able to use these blessings to bless other people. I heard someone said, yes, be rich, but with your richness, make other people be part of your richness or blessings. To be thankful does not mean that all happened in the past was good, but it does mean that even the bad didn't happen outside the loving presence and knowledge of God. When all that has been is remembered in gratitude, we become freer or more open, more generous, and more available for others. Gratitude. The second point is vulnerability. St. Paul in today's second reading spoke of, his generosity in life. According to St. Paul, it is gain to die. But, while I live here on earth, may God use my body to magnify Him. That's how St. Paul was so generous. But of course, behind the story of St. Paul is the question on vulnerability. Time is limited. While I live here on earth, that's the context of what he's saying. I would give, I would do the good that I should do while I have time. So we often think of the fruitful life as springing from strength and power and overflow. I might consider my first 5-10 years of priesthood as my most fruitful years. After 25 years, I might start to notice, graying of my hair and start feeling back pains and arthritis. I begin to worry that after 25 years, my performance level will begin to wane. We become more and more aware of our own physical and mental and emotional vulnerabilities. But we all realize that we often have more to give when we are open, vulnerable, and aware of our limitedness, our limitation. The greater we feel this sense of limitedness, the more life gives meaning and direction to what we are doing. There is power in vulnerability. When we know the shortness of life, we would do away with things that do not contribute to our personal growth and advancement. So life becomes more fruitful when we know things need to be accomplished and realized at the designated times, because we can never get back lost opportunities. Gratitude, vulnerability, and third is care. See, our gospel for the day gives us a picture of us, giving careful consideration to the things that has been given us. All your blessings should be sustained by care. You need to care for what you are and have. Your health, your faith, your relationships, your family, your ministry, your institutions, your people, and the list is endless. We need to channel all these resources properly. We cannot be haphazard or wasteful or slothful and expect to be fruitful. The nourishing sources of life need to be constantly tapped, lest we find ourselves in a position where much is expected of us while we have little to give. So my dear brothers and sisters, we have been enriched by God's super abundant love, God's super generosity, with lots of graces and blessings. Let us ask ourselves with this question: in what area of my life, I find myself, I have been very fruitful? Remember, life's blessings are enhanced when we are fully aware of our own vulnerability. Our fruitfulness is enhanced when our life is characterized by appreciation and gratitude. Our fruitfulness is sustained when we know how to care. We shall now profess our faith. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth,